Ho ho ho, come sit in Santa's lap and tell me what you want for Christmas.
Well, if IzuKage finished his Killua series by Christmas, that would be okay.
Why, my child, that can be done right away.
So as my boy Santa promised, finally the Killua series is out, and it's only been almost a month since the last part, so that is a new record for me at least. So I don't want to hold you guys up too much. Discord link and a link to some fire anime merch in the description. And I hope you guys have a really good Christmas season, because I honestly don't even want anything for Christmas. I've gotten everything I already want, so I'm just chilling, but hopefully you guys get what you're wishing for. But with that said, let's just get right into the what if. So we start this what if off 5 years after Naruto's birth, and he's in a cave about 30 minutes away from the village, and in the cave, 3 voices could be heard. One of them said, "That kid sure put up a fight, huh?" And the other guy said, "Yeah, but we finally got him tied up." And he turned around to their leader and asked, "So what's next?" And this one of the 3 was actually a ninja, and he said, "Don't worry, son, we'll get our revenge for your mother soon enough." And all 3 men turned to Naruto, who was tied up, and the ninja there said, "Back up, you 2. Let's have some fun first." And he started weaving hand signs and said, "Electric floor." And the entire floor was electrified, and Naruto screamed in pain, but his screams wouldn't go far. And after this, the other 2 said, "Don't have all the fun," and started curb stomping Naruto. But one of them was a bit hesitant whenever he was attacking Naruto. You see, all 3 of the men were related. 2 were father and son, and the other one was the ninja's brother. And apart from that, they had no other family members. So once the father saw that his brother was taking it easy on Naruto, he walked up to him and grabbed him and went off to the side and said, "What are you doing? Why are you going easy on the kid? He's the one that killed my wife, or sister, or entire family. We're the only ones left, and the killer is right in front of you, and you want to take it easy on him?" The father's brother stayed silent, but after a few seconds said, "No, let's show that kid the pain he caused us." And he's like, "That's what I like to hear." So they both walked back to Naruto, and under his breath the brother just said, "I'm sorry," before stomping on Naruto even more. So after a few minutes of this, he passed out, only being alive due to Kurama's chakra. So we switch to Naruto's perspective, and it's 2 days later, and Naruto woke up, and he doesn't know what time of day it is since they closed up the opening to the cave before they left, and Naruto can just hear his stomach growling. But after 5 hours of just being in complete darkness, Naruto heard something else. It was something or someone coming towards the cave. He heard footsteps stop nearby the cave and heard someone say, "This squad check up north, everyone else come with me." So Naruto, he tried screaming to get their attention, but his voice was really low. He hadn't eaten or drank anything for the past 2 days. And Naruto thought to himself, "What did I ever do to deserve this?" And he fell asleep soon after. Naruto woke up to a shock as the 2 villagers and Chunin were back, and he said, "Eat up, we can't have you dying." And he threw a bowl of rice at Naruto and spilled some water on the floor, and like a pig, Naruto ate it all up. And the guy smirked, and the 3 turned to leave again and said, "Hopefully that poison puts you out of your misery." But Naruto wasn't even focused on what he just said. He just kept picking up every single grain of rice off the ground, trying to suck up all the water before it dries up. So back in the village, things were just as usual. Most didn't even realize Naruto was gone, except Hiruzen, who had already sent out multiple search parties to look for Naruto, but this search wouldn't be over as quickly as Hiruzen wanted. 3 years is how long Naruto was in that cave. He was always kept on the brink of death and barely fed, and during these 3 years, the brother of the Chunin felt increasingly bad for Naruto, and during this time, he had a kid of his own, and that was just the breaking point for him. He kept imagining, well, what if that was his child? So he requested to speak with Hiruzen personally, and Hiruzen didn't take much visitors, especially after failing to find Naruto, but this villager claimed to know where Naruto was, so it was a long shot, but he accepted the villager's request. And the villager walked into Hiruzen's office, and without wasting any time, he bowed to his Hokage and said, "Lord Hokage, I know where Naruto is." And for the following 10 minutes, this villager explained everything that he and his family did to Naruto in excruciating detail, even detailing all of Naruto's cries for help. And after that, Hiruzen, he was silent. He didn't know how to respond to that. He got up out of his chair and turned to look out of the window to the Hokage stone heads and looked at Minato and said, "I can finally bring him home." So we switched perspectives to Naruto, and he had cuts and bruises all over his body. He was like a skeleton, that's how skinny he was. And to make things worse, the father and son have returned without their third member. And the father said, "I had a bad day today. Stay still so I can vent." And Naruto's hair was hiding his eyes. Then the Chunin performed a lightning jutsu, but Naruto, he didn't even flinch. He didn't scream. He wasn't affected anymore. Naruto looked up at the Chunin and he started biting down on his teeth, straining himself, and broke through the restraints. He looked at the two and said, "Why don't you have a taste of your own medicine?" And Naruto opened his palm and a lightning bolt shot out and struck both of them. At the same time, Hiruzen, Ibiki, and some Anbu members arrive at the cave entrance, and when they walk in, they see two dead bodies on the ground, and standing over them, an extremely skinny Naruto. And Hiruzen rushes at Naruto, hugging him tightly, but he looked into Naruto's eyes and they were lifeless. He wasn't even conscious for all of this. So Hiruzen quickly ran to the hospital with Naruto to get him medical treatment. So you guys might be wondering, how did Naruto just use lightning? Well, in this, the Uzumaki weren't only revered for their sealing ability, but they also had a rare Kekkei Genkai found in the clan. By rare, I mean extremely rare. Like the last person to have the Kekkei Genkai was in around the second Hokage's era. So if you want to be technical, it wouldn't be a Kekkei Genkai, since Kekkei Genkais are combining two elements like ice releases, water and wind. But technicalities out of the window, Naruto would have gotten this Kekkei Genkai, and it allows Naruto to have basically ultimate control over his chakra. And since in this his affinity is going to be lightning release, since it's Killua, this Kekkei Genkai would allow Naruto to use lightning release in ways never thought of by any ninja. But the main thing is, he can do all of this without using any hand signs. Naruto can just manipulate lightning. It doesn't have to be a jutsu or anything like that. It looks like you guys are enjoying the what if so far. Make sure to check out the link in the description for Fandom. It is a dope website where you can find some fire anime merch. Definitely go check them out. They've got Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, My Hero. You want it, they more than likely have it. So yeah, if you guys are interested in any of that, links to that in the description, and use code IzuKage for 5% off. Now back to your regularly scheduled what if. So a few days later, Naruto wakes up in the hospital and he is surrounded by medical ninjas trying to make sure Naruto has a healthy recovery. So he continues to rest until nighttime, but at night, Naruto is woken up by another medical ninja, and she says, "Sorry to wake you up, but you need to take these." And she gives Naruto some pills, and as she's walking out of the room, she says to herself, "That should be enough to kill him." So she had Naruto take poison, but almost every meal Naruto ate in the cave had some sort of poison in it, and because of this, most poisons just don't work on Naruto. It would have to be really technical, so all of the common stuff just doesn't work. So the next morning, you can tell the nurse was shocked to see that Naruto was not only alive, but he was like healthier. So after about a month, Naruto, he was fit to leave the hospital, and he returns to his house, and it's just like how he left it. And before Naruto could even get comfortable, Hiruzen paid him a visit, and when he opened the door, Naruto was just lying there, and Hiruzen said, "It's good to see you back, Naruto," but he didn't respond back. There was just this awkward silence. Then Hiruzen said, "I signed you up for the academy. They already started, but you should be able to join them next week." But still no response from Naruto. Hiruzen just lowered his head and walked out. So for the weeks leading up to Naruto joining the academy, he would try to get some training in, mainly just works out in his bedroom, like stuff that me and you would do, like push-ups, sit-ups, just the regular stuff. Because Naruto, he's still pretty skinny, so he has to eat a lot to gain back on some weight. And also, he still doesn't know about his ability to use lightning since, like I mentioned, he did all of that while he was unconscious. So when the academy finally rolls around, Naruto, he walks into class with his hair still covering his eyes, and he had his hand in his pockets. And Naruto, he had some good clothes. He had on a black and blue jacket with dark colored pants. So definitely a darker theme than what Naruto is used to, like his orange jumpsuit. So Iruka, he had Naruto come up to the front of the class and said, "We have a student joining us a bit late, but of course we'll make sure he feels welcome." And he says to Naruto that he can have a seat at the back. So Naruto walks up to his seat, and some of the girls have already taken an immediate liking to Naruto. He was like a Sasuke 2.0, and some of Sasuke's fangirls were more drawn to Naruto, the major one being Ino. So class continues as usual, and I hope you guys are all ready for this question because it's not gonna be like those easier questions, it's gonna be hard. So the question is, how did Sasuke lose his curse mark? If you don't know it, it's pretty hard, but if you do know the fight and all of that happened, it should be pretty easy for you. So leave your comments in the description. Let's see how many of you actually know the answer. So Naruto's first day at the academy, it wasn't too bad. They did regular schoolwork, and whenever someone tried talking to Naruto, he was very reserved, like he kept to himself. And that would continue for years down the line. So we skip to 2 years later, and Naruto, he gets up, he grabs a snack, and starts walking to the academy. And as he's walking, someone comes up from behind him and says, "Good morning, Naruto." And Naruto turns around and sees Ino. And he turns back around without even saying a word. And Ino starts walking next to him and says, "You know, it's rude not to greet someone back." And Naruto just lets out the slightest, "Good morning to you too." When she heard this, Ino stopped walking. She has been trying for the past year to get Naruto to talk, and finally he has. So she runs up, catching back up with Naruto, and tries talking more, but it doesn't go far. So finally they arrive at school, and for today, Iruka, he had a different plan than usual. He wanted to see how far his students has progressed, so for today, he'll be having a short sparring match. And as soon as Iruka said that, all the girls from Sasuke and Naruto's fan clubs started betting on who's going to win, while the guys in the class were just annoyed and just wanted to get this all over with. So the class went outside and started lining up, and Iruka, he marked out a border area, so if you were kicked out, you would lose. So it's either you beat the person or you get pushed out of the border. So Iruka started randomly pairing up students, and Naruto and Sasuke were paired together. And Iruka, he actually did that intentionally because he personally wanted to see who was the strongest of the two. And all of the fangirls were ready for this fight. They were ready to defend Naruto or Sasuke. So before Naruto and Sasuke, there would be some background characters who went, and then Shikamaru and Kiba and Choji and Shino, and then finally it would come up to Naruto and Sasuke. So they both enter the border area, and Naruto looks at Sasuke with just a blank, emotionless expression. And then Iruka said, "Begin." And with that, Sasuke ran at Naruto, and to Naruto's surprise, he was pretty fast. But Naruto remained calm and blocked all of Sasuke's taijutsu attacks. Then Naruto punched Sasuke in the chest, sending him stumbling back, and Naruto jumped in the air ready to land the final blow, but Sasuke dodged and weaved hand signs for fire style, fireball jutsu, and Naruto was right in front of Sasuke, so it wasn't going to miss. This is going to end the fight. Naruto, seeing this fireball, he extended his hands out of instinct, trying to do something to stop it. But lightning shot out of Naruto's hands, and when the two elements clashed, it made a massive explosion, sending both Naruto and Sasuke out of bounds. And the match was a draw. Naruto, he was half knocked out, but Ino and some other girls ran up to Naruto and helped him up and asked if he was okay. Naruto, he nodded and said, "Yeah, I'm fine." But they made sure to bring him to the medical ninja for the school to just make sure that he was okay. So everyone else went, they had their sparring matches, and after that they had a break and just continued doing regular school subjects. After school that day, Naruto walked up to Sasuke while he was about to leave and said, "That was a good match," and extended his hand for a fist bump, and Sasuke just looked at Naruto's hands and gave him a fist bump as well and said, "Yeah, hopefully we can fight again sometime to see who's really stronger." And Naruto, he chuckled a bit. He smiled for the first time in what seemed to be years. And he walked off, and Ino and some of the Naruto's fangirls saw him smiling, and they were going mental. They were screaming at the top of their lungs and tried catching up with Naruto, but he knew they were already behind him, so he made sure to take some alleyways to get home. And as soon as Naruto gets home, he would get straight into trying to figuring out how his lightning ability works. So for the next 3 years, that's exactly what Naruto does. Naruto, he would go to the training grounds on a daily basis, trying to use this lightning ability of his again. And when he finally figures it out, Naruto, he realizes how OP this can be, because Naruto, basically at any of his chakra points, he can release chakra and turn it into lightning. So, well, as I said when I was explaining it, Naruto, he has the ultimate control over his own chakra, and combined with his elemental affinity, which is lightning, it is just absurd how powerful Naruto is capable of being. And the main weakness for this Kekkei Genkai, especially if you had lightning, is that it would shock the user. But due to Naruto's almost complete immunity to lightning, now it just doesn't affect him. But I don't want to explain everything Naruto has learned, because we'll get into that in his fight with Sasuke, which is right around the corner. So Sasuke, during all of this, wasn't slacking in his training either, because Sasuke, he had the entire Uchiha library of fire style jutsu, and drawing with Naruto, this really gave him the drive to want to learn more jutsus to just become stronger and eventually completing his goal of killing Itachi. So finally, we're at the graduation exam, and the atmosphere is pretty heavy because there is a huge fight going between both of Naruto and Sasuke's fan clubs, because they want either whoever they're supporting, Naruto or Sasuke, they want them to come first in all of this, just for bragging rights basically. They aren't actually gaining anything from it. So soon enough, Iruka he arrives to class with a massive stack of papers, and this will be the written portion of the test. So he begins handing out the papers, and after he finishes that, he gives everyone an hour and a half for time, and then he begins. And for Naruto, the test really isn't that hard. He's been studying, and even without studying, Naruto can pick up on certain things quickly. So after the time limit is up, everyone hands their papers to the person in front of them, and it gets to the front of the row, and then Iruka collects all of them. So next will be the physical portion, which they have to move outside for. And finally, Sasuke will be getting his rematch. But before that, Iruka, he would have some other events like kunai and shuriken accuracy training and trying to dodge obstacles and jumping from branch to branch, making sure that you don't fall. Basically the essentials that a ninja would need in a mission. So after completing all of that, finally it comes to the sparring matches. And everyone starts cheering for the prospective person they're supporting. And the Iruka, he's keeping the same pairings as he did 3 years ago. So before Naruto and Sasuke, of course, you have some of the filler matches, which are just some fodder background characters, and then some more substantial characters like Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba. They all fight. And then a crowd starts to gather at the fence, trying to watch and see who's gonna win. Because in this, Naruto, he isn't as hated because Naruto, he doesn't play pranks or anything like that. So some villagers have come around just to accept Naruto. He isn't interfering with their life in any way. It's obviously just a kid. So a lot of villagers just don't, they don't like Naruto, but they don't dislike Naruto, if that makes sense. So finally, the long-awaited rematch of Naruto and Sasuke is underway. We left off last time with Naruto and Sasuke about to face off in the graduation exams. So they're on the field behind the academy and both their fan clubs are screaming at the top of their lungs, and Iruka said begin. Sasuke wasted no time and threw shuriken at Naruto and weaved hand signs and said Phoenix Flower Jutsu, setting the shuriken on fire, and they were all flying towards Naruto, who was just standing there, and the shuriken flew right through him. Ino, watching from the crowd, looked away, not wanting to see Naruto get hurt, but when she opened her eyes, she was in disbelief. The shuriken were on the ground behind Naruto. And Naruto, he slowly started to fade away, and Sasuke was confused and he started looking around, checking every direction. Then from behind him, Naruto showed up, and Sasuke quickly threw shuriken at him, but they went right through him again. And by now, a crowd of villagers started to gather to watch the Uchiha fight. But this was not helping Sasuke. He was freaked out. Naruto kept popping up in random locations. Then multiple Naruto started to show up and surround Sasuke. And he realized that these were all after images. He was never hitting Naruto. But Sasuke, he weaved hand signs and said, "This'll finally get him. Fire style, flamethrower." And Sasuke started breathing fire, spinning around in a circle, making sure to hit everything. And the villagers started cheering for Sasuke. This jutsu put on a spectacle for all of them. And when the smoke cleared, Sasuke saw nothing, but from above him, he heard someone say, "You never check above, do you?" And Sasuke looked up and saw lightning arcing off of Naruto, and Naruto pointed 2 fingers at Sasuke and a lightning bolt shot towards him. But Naruto, he intentionally made the lightning bolt a lot weaker than he would be able to, so it wouldn't badly injure Sasuke. And when it hit Sasuke, a bright light came off of him as he was being shocked, and when it dimmed, Sasuke was just on the ground, passed out. So Naruto landed next to him and all of his fangirls started to cheer Naruto's name, and for once in his life, Naruto felt happy. He felt accepted by everyone. But this cheering was drowned out by the mob of villagers booing Naruto for beating Sasuke, and even started throwing trash and stones at Naruto, so he quickly picked Sasuke up and ran into the academy with Ino running behind Naruto. So Naruto, he got to the infirmary and left Sasuke there to get healed up by the medical ninjas. And when he walked out, Naruto saw Ino standing there and asked, "Why are you here?" And Ito said, well... But before she could even finish, Naruto said, "If it's about Sasuke, he'll be fine." And he was about to walk away, but Ino said, "No, it's not about Sasuke. It's about you. I wanted to know if you were all right." And Naruto said, "Oh, I guess I'm fine." And Ino was thinking this is the best place to tell Naruto how she feels. But then all of the academy students were returning to class, and Naruto, he was walking back as well. So she just lowered her head and put it off again. So when they got back to class, Iruka said, "Good job everyone, and there were some impressive fights out there. Return in a week and we'll have all the teams ready." So everyone, they go home for the day, and Naruto's plans for the next week is just to do some lightning training. So the next day, while he's in the middle of a set, while Naruto is training, he gets a knock at the door, and he finishes up his reps, his push-ups, and he goes to answer it. And when he opens the door, Naruto sees Ino, and Naruto, he was a bit confused and asked, "Why are you here?" And Ino was a bit shy and said, "Well, I wanted to ask if you wanted to go out and eat. I know a good barbecue place." And Naruto, he hears his stomach rumble and looks back into his apartment, and all he sees is nothing but spoiled milk and empty ramen cups. So Naruto, he looked back at Ino and says, "You're paying." So the two go out and have a pretty good time. First, they went to the Genin festival. They have this every year for the new Genins getting assigned. So there they had a bunch of carnival games, and Naruto, he even won this massive bear for Ino, almost as big as her. So they had some fun, but when people started noticing that Naruto was playing their games, whenever he would come to their stall, they would close down, but as soon as he leaves, they reopen. So Ino, realizing this and seeing how uncomfortable Naruto is, she says, "Let's just head to the barbecue place." And lucky for Naruto, the villagers running that place, they didn't have a problem with Naruto. Actually, they felt bad for him. After news spread about him being kidnapped and basically tortured, who wouldn't? So Naruto got this huge tray of beef and his mouth started watering even before they were cooked. And Ino was just watching as Naruto is chomping down the food, and he said to her, "Are you gonna eat that?" And Ino laughed and said, "You can have some." So overall, they had a pretty good time. And by the time they were leaving the barbecue place, it was becoming nighttime. And Naruto said, "I should probably be getting home." But before he could even, Ino grabbed his arm and said, "Nope, one more thing." And Naruto was just being dragged along as Ino went to a more silent part of town. And she started walking alongside Naruto and finally worked up the courage and said, "Naruto, I really like you, and I want you to be my boyfriend." Ino closed her eyes waiting for his response, and she waited and waited and waited until she opened her eyes, and Naruto wasn't even there anymore. She looked behind her and Naruto was on the ground like he was searching for something, and Ino just facepalmed and puts it off again. So for the rest of the week, Naruto would find himself hanging out with Ino more and more, and they got pretty close actually. So finally, they would return to the academy to be assigned to their teams. So Iruka, he has the full list from the Hokage himself, and he starts reading them off. First up is Team 8, and that's Kiba, Hinata, and Shino, and their Jonin sensei is Kurenai. Next is Team 10, Choji, Shikamaru, and Sakura. And finally, Team 7, Naruto, Sasuke, and Ino. And hearing these results, Sakura got livid. she was like, how are you on the team with both of them? Like talking about Naruto and Sasuke, and she was just laughing so much in Sakura's face. And Naruto was just watching this because he barely gets to see this side of she's more reserved around him, but seeing her laughing, having fun, it's just a good sight to see for Naruto, and he smiles as he's watching Ino. And Ino glances towards Naruto, who's legit just staring at her, smiling, and she just gets super nervous and sits back down and starts acting a bit more reserved. So then the Jonin senseis start walking in. Also, wait, I didn't mention the Jonin sensei for Team 10 or Team 7, but you know them. So Asuma and Kurenai, they come in first. Like, they come in within like 2 minutes. They were already at the door ready for their teams. So they go off with them while Team 7 is just in the room waiting for Kakashi to return. And while they're waiting, Naruto and Ino start up a chat, nothing really to mention, just some casual talk. And after about 2 hours, this man Kakashi decides to show up, and when he does, immediately he starts saying, "I was lost on the path of life." But none of them was buying it, so Kakashi just said, "Just meet me on the roof." So they all walk upstairs and get to the roof and see Kakashi already there, chilling. And then they sit down opposite to him, and he starts to say, "Well, I want you guys to do a bit of an introduction. Say your name, your likes, dislikes, and what are your future goals." So first up is Ino. She says her name is Ino Yamanaka. She likes helping her mom with the flower shop, and she dislikes rude customers. And she says, "My goal is to become a strong kunoichi and hopefully succeed my father." And Kakashi was nodding along, thinking in his head, those are some pretty solid points. Next is Sasuke, who is still a bit emo, but having Naruto as a friend really toned it down a lot. So he said his name is Naruto and his likes are training and he dislikes being beaten in a fight, and he has a slight glance towards Naruto, who smirks at him. And his goals are to avenge his clan. And next is Naruto, who says his name is Naruto Uzumaki. He likes ramen, training, and talking to Ino. And he doesn't really dislike much, thinking about it. Since Naruto has gone through a lot, he's really learned to appreciate the things around him, so he doesn't dislike anything in particular. And finally, his goals are to protect those closest to him. And Kakashi, hearing this, he was actually relieved to hear that none of them really hated each other, so they would probably have some good teamwork. So he says, "Okay, good. Now with that out of the way, let's hope you don't get dropped from the team, because tomorrow we'll be having the real test. Meet me at the training grounds at 6. And Kakashi poofed into smoke, and Naruto realized that he's been a shadow clone this entire time. So after that, Naruto, he returns home and makes sure to get some good rest for what is potentially going to be a big fight tomorrow. So Naruto, he wakes up the next morning, and after getting a quick bite to eat, he heads out for the training grounds. And when he makes it there, Naruto sees both Sasuke and Ino waiting, and he jumps down and he asks them, I'm guessing he's late again. And they nodded, and Naruto just sighed and sat at a tree nearby. And Ino sits down to him, next to him as well, and they chat a bit, and even Sasuke comes in to talk. So as they were talking, Kakashi finally arrives a good hour later. And as he's about to give his excuse, they're like, just save it, Kakashi-sensei. And he just rubs the back of his head and continues, well, today we'll be doing the bell test. And he holds up 2 bells and says, the first 2 people to grab these bells pass, and the loser gets sent back to the academy. Understood. They all nodded in agreement. Then Kakashi said, begin. Ino, Naruto, and Sasuke all rushed into the forest to mask their presence and to come up with a plan. And Ino says, Naruto, can't you just shoot lightning at him or something? And he responds, yeah, I could, but think back to what Kakashi said. And they're thinking back, so this is sort of a flashback. The person who doesn't get the bell will be sent back to the academy. And Naruto says he has never seen a 3-man team, so either he's bluffing or our team is gonna be the first in history, which he really doubts that. And Sasuke says, I never thought of that, so you think he wants us to work together? And Naruto says, exactly. Now, here's my plan. So we switch perspectives to Kakashi, and he's reaching Ichi Ichi Paradise, the best-selling book in the Leaf Village. Come on, you gotta get yours, bro. I've read it before, it's amazing. But Kakashi notices he can't even sense the team. But as he's thinking this, Naruto jumps out of the bush and shoots a lightning bolt at Kakashi with literally no time to dodge. It hits him square on, but Kakashi poofs into a smoke cloud. And Naruto turns to Ino and says, it's just like you said, it was a shadow clone. So it's Naruto's time to figure out where the real Kakashi is, and he closes his eyes, and a new technique he's learned, he's able to sense lightning, or at least, well, not lightning, but electrical charges around him. And Naruto, he's trying to focus and sense any abnormal cluster of these electrical charges, and that's when Naruto senses something in the tree nearby, and Naruto points to it, and without saying anything, Sasuke jumps out and throws kunais at the tree. With that, Kakashi, he jumps out already with his headband raised, and Naruto said, Ino, you're up. You won't be able to control him for long, but do your best. And Ino said, right. And she puts up a unique hand sign that neither Naruto or Sasuke has ever really seen, and said, mind transfer jutsu. And Ino's body falls over and Naruto catches her. And Kakashi, while he's in mid-air, he reaches down to his waistband and pulls off the bells and throws them at Sasuke. But as he did this, Kakashi regained control and managed to catch one of the bells, but Sasuke got away with the other one. Ino soon waked up and said, I'm sorry Naruto, his consciousness was too strong. And Naruto patted Ino on the head and said, don't worry, with you we wouldn't have gotten that bell. And with that, Ino smiled, so Naruto turned around, and his smile that Naruto had, it was completely gone. Naruto was serious, and when he looked at Kakashi, chills went down Kakashi's spine, and he's thinking, this bloodlust coming from a kid? It's unheard of. But lightning started coming off Naruto's leg, and he charged at Kakashi, who was able to dodge using his Sharingan, and Naruto jumped in the air and spin kicked down at Kakashi, but he blocked it with his arms. And he threw Naruto off, and while Naruto was in the air, Kakashi weaved hand signs at ridiculous speeds and said, fire style, fireball jutsu. And Naruto had to tank the attack, and he got knocked back. So Naruto, he landed on the ground with his arms burnt, and he said to himself, I need to go faster. And lightning started covering Naruto's body, becoming a pseudo lightning cloak. But this is still slower than the lightning cloak for now. And Naruto, he blitzed Kakashi even faster and kicked him in the chest. And when he kicked him, Naruto shocked Kakashi since Naruto concentrated lightning in that area. And using this split second, Ino performed her mind transfer again, giving Naruto enough time to grab the last bell, securing the win for Team 7. So Kakashi, he regained consciousness soon after and smirked, and he said, good work to all three of you, I am really proud. And with that, Naruto, he would go home, but he's followed by Ino since they live in the same general direction. And as Naruto, he's about to leave, he turns to Ino and said, good work, and he puts out his hand for a fist bump. And Ino brushes his hand away and gives him a massive hug. And when Ino lets go, she realized what she just did, and she turned red in the face, and Naruto looked worried and said, are you sick or something? Your face is all red. And Ino backed off and started running away, trying to hide her face, and Naruto, he was just confused. He just shrugged and went back home. So for the following 2 weeks, Team 7 would do multiple D-rank missions, doing a total of 50 of them. The reason they even did this much was mainly because of Naruto. He would always push his team to do more, because even though they were annoyed by it, Naruto knew that they would need to do at least a certain amount of D rank missions to be able to do higher ranked ones. But after 2 weeks, even Naruto was getting tired of these freaking D rank missions. There would be zero test of his abilities. Naruto wouldn't know how good he is compared to ninjas outside of the Leaf Village. So finally, Team 7 all came together to ask Kakashi to request a higher ranked mission from Hiruzen. So the next time they went to see Hiruzen to collect another mission, Kakashi asked if they could have a higher ranked one because his team has done 50 of them already, so he thinks they have enough experience to be able to do some higher ranked ones like a C rank mission. And Hiruzen, he's been thinking about it because he's been looking at Team 7's logs, and they have done the most missions compared to any of the other teams. So he doesn't really disagree because he sees Team 7's worth. So he's like, okay, alright, I'll do it. And he starts scrolling through the missions that he has, and then he comes across a C rank escort mission, and he's reading the details of it, and he thinks this is perfect for Team 7. So he tells them the mission details. They'll need to escort a bridge builder to the land of waves, and this bridge builder is named Tazuna. And they're hearing this and it doesn't sound too bad, so they accept it. And Hiruzen has Tazuna come in to meet the team that will be escorting him. So when Tazuna comes in, he is wasted. He is completely drunk, and he's slurring over his words. Like, do these kids really think they can escort someone as important as me? And he's cussing them, doing the most right now. And Hiruzen, he just has his Anbu take him out because he can't even deal with Tazuna right now. So, Team 7, they accept the mission even though Tazuna was a bit iffy, but hey, at least they get to go outside of the village. So after that, the next day rolls around, and Team 7 is at the gates waiting for Tazuna, and finally he arrives, and as soon as he gets there, he starts profusely apologizing because he drank way too much and he knew that he did something dumb. So he made sure to tell them like he's sorry, and Team 7, they didn't hold any hard feelings, they accepted. And they got on their way to the land of waves. So we pick back up with Team 7, and they're on their way to the land of waves with Tazuna because this is an escort mission to get him there. So they're walking along the path, and as they are, Naruto as well as Kakashi, they realize a puddle out of place in front of them. But neither of them say anything about it to the rest of Team 7. So as they're walking over the puddle, Naruto coats his hand in lightning release and slams it down into the puddle, but nothing happens. And Kakashi and the rest of the team turned around and Ino asked Naruto, "Are you okay?" And he just played it off saying he thought he saw something. But they just continued down the path. But Naruto, he was suspicious, like he sweared he could have sent something in the puddle, but I guess he was just imagining things. So Team 7, they continued down the path after that awkward moment with Naruto. So as they're walking up, Team 7 starts to get surrounded by a thick mist, and they were worried, but Tazuna, he said fogs like these are common around these parts, but Kakashi wasn't so sure. And they continued down the path, but Kakashi held his hands in front of the team, signaling them to stop, and he lifted his headband and realized someone was in front of them. And there stood someone, not Zabuza or anyone in the Naruto world in fact. This guy had dark red skin and short black hair. On screen is an image of him. So those who haven't watched Hunter x Hunter, this is a character from the show called Yuppie. And I know some of you don't like when I bring in enemies from the anime I'm doing a what if on, but Zabuza would get completely wiped by Naruto, let's be serious. So let's give him a challenge for once. So when the fog clears a bit and Kakashi can see the person in front of him fully, his eyes widen. And Naruto sees Kakashi's body starting to shake, and he asks Kakashi, like, "Kakashi sensei, is everything okay?" and Kakashi remained silent, then turned around, grabbed Ino and Sasuke and told Naruto to grab Tazuna and run. Without even questioning his orders, Naruto lifted the old man on his back and started running because he has never seen Kakashi this scared. But they wouldn't get far because this red guy in front of them, he landed cracking the ground, creating like a small crater. And he starts cracking his neck and knuckles, and he said, "I think you have someone I'm looking for." And he pointed to Tazuna. "I have a job to kill him." And Naruto whispered to Kakashi asking who this guy is, and Kakashi begins to explain that this is Yuppie. And he's talking and says, "I thought he was a legend at first, but the Red Assassin has never failed to kill his target. He's killed Kages and some of the strongest ninjas in this world, but the most impressive thing, he's defeated all of them in one blow. The only person who has said to even survive him is the first Hokage, and that's because he survived his first blow, so Yuppie spared him." And Naruto looked at this creature and sweat started running down his forehead. This is the first time in a while that Naruto has felt scared. So it's the same experience for both Naruto and Kakashi. And Yuppie said out loud, "I'm done waiting. I'll be taking that bridge builder now." And he threw his arm back and grew it at a massive size and punched down onto Team 7, but they all jumped out of the way to get out of the range of the attack. And Yuppie said, "So you guys are somewhat capable ninjas. This might actually be a good fight." And Kakashi said to his team, "Stay back, I'll take care of this." And he rushed in with a Chidori, and Yuppie extended his arm to grab Kakashi, but the Chidori cut right through the middle of his hand, and Kakashi kept running until it stabbed through his chest. And Yuppie looked down at Kakashi and smiled and said, "At least you'll put up a good fight." And arms started sprouting out of Yuppie's back and punched Kakashi across the path into the forest, and he slammed headfirst into a tree. And Team 7, seeing their Jonin sensei out of commission, being knocked around like a toy, they knew they needed to stand between this monster and Tazuna. And Sasuke was the first to respond. He weaved hand signs and said, "Fire style, destructive flame." Sasuke shot out a fireball as big as a house, and it tore the ground apart as it flew towards Yuppie, but he was unfazed at all. And his hand grew to the same size as the fireball, and he grabbed it and pushed it back towards Sasuke, hitting him with his own jutsu. The disrespect. So Ino, seeing an opening, tried using her mind transfer jutsu, but before Naruto could stop her, she already performed it, and when Ino did, she fell over in the real world, but in Yuppie's mindscape, it was just completely dark, and she was walking around trying to find his brain, and from behind Ino, someone said, "I think you're lost. Let me help you out a bit." And a small figure of Yuppie punched Ino so hard she flew out of his mindscape, and this knocked Ino out in the real world. And Naruto and Tazuna were the last left, and he looked around at his team who were badly beaten at this point, and Naruto was angry. He went full speed and punched Yuppie in the chest, but this did nothing. Naruto kept running around trying to outspeed him and catch him off guard, but when nothing was working, Naruto got back and started charging up an attack. His palms started to glow blue, and Naruto shot a massive lightning bolt at Yuppie, and it hit him, and Yuppie gritted his teeth in pain. This is the most pain he's endured in a long while, but he endured it, that's the thing. And Yuppie, he dropped to one knee, and he was angry, and this anger was starting to charge up into his own attack. Naruto could sense this buildup of energy, and whatever it wasn't good. And Naruto quickly ran towards Kakashi, but Yuppie clotheslined him with an extended arm, and Naruto fell over. Yuppie tried stomping on Naruto, but he rolled out of the way in time. And Naruto, he could still sense this buildup of energy, so he needs to get out of there and now. So he wipes the blood off of his face and he used his remaining energy to run at each of his teammates and Kakashi and Tazuna, picking them up and running into the forest. And as he was running away, a massive explosion went off from Yuppie's buildup of energy. And this created a crater, I don't know what units you guys use, kilometers or miles, but it's a massive crater. I wouldn't say to the size of Pain when he destroyed the village, like a third of that, but yeah, it is a big crater. But Naruto, he got out of the range in time and he ran over to the Land of Waves and to where Tazuna instructed was his house. And when Naruto reached the front door, he collapsed from exhaustion. But Tazuna and his daughter, he helped them get inside and bring them to one of their guest rooms where Tazuna's daughter, since her husband, he did a lot of reckless stuff, even her son, so she had to learn a bit of first aid. So that's really the only experience she has, but it did come in handy because she managed to keep all of Team 7 healthy while they were unconscious. So 3 days go by and Naruto, he shoots awake, breathing heavily, and Tazuna, who was replacing a hot towel on his forehead, he jumped back because Naruto just woke up out of nowhere. So he starts looking around and Tazuna explains the situation and everything that happened, how he saved all of them, and Naruto started to remember the fight and he's getting angry at the fact that he lost. And Naruto slammed his hands into the ground, knocking over some of the food Tazuna brought for him. And Naruto threw the sheets and towel off of him and marched outside. And as he's doing that, he sees Kakashi and the rest of Team 7 eating, but Naruto ignores them and just goes outside. And Ino got up to run after him, but Sasuke grabs her shoulder and nodded his head no, basically telling her, just to let him be for now. So meanwhile this is happening, Naruto, he went over to the forest where he begins training his speed, going full steam because he's doing this until he just completely is drained, until he falls over from exhaustion. So nightfall comes around and streams of lightning are still coming out of the forest. But Naruto, he took a quick rest, and while he's doing this, Sasuke appeared on the tree above him, and he said, "Let me guess, you're angry you're not strong enough." Funny, coming from the strongest genin of our year. And Naruto said, "Shut up, Sasuke, you wouldn't understand." And hearing this, Sasuke, he had a few words to get off his chest, and he jumped down and said, "I don't understand. I've always lost to you and you don't see me acting like a child. I try to learn from every fight we have that every fight I lose to you. So when you least expect it, I'll finally win." And Sasuke has a confident grin on his face, and Naruto, he looks at him and says, "Like I'd ever let you win." And Sasuke said, "Now there's a Naruto I know. Let's head back. Ino's starting to get pretty worried." So Naruto came in from training and Kakashi was surprised at what was on Naruto's shirt, and he said, "Is that drip from this anime apparel website fandom, link in the description?" And Naruto said, "Yeah, you like it? I use code IzuKage for 5% off. And you should too." But for real though, guys, these designs are immaculate, and if you see anything on screen you'd like, make sure to check it out, fandom, link in the description. But with that said, let's just get back into it. So 4 days of Naruto just doing intensive training with some of Sasuke's help to become faster, and he would achieve this, but let me save it for the fight. So like usual, Team 7, they went to protect Tazuna, but the night before Naruto was training like usual, so he woke up pretty late, and Naruto, when he got up, he realized that everyone was gone, so he rushed to get ready, and when he ran downstairs, Naruto sees Gato's men having Inari and his mom captive, and Naruto wasn't gonna waste his time on these background characters, so he rushed in faster than any of them could perceive. And remember, they're all civilians, so when I say as faster than they could perceive, the bar is pretty low compared to someone with a Sharingan. But yeah, Naruto sped past both of them and tapped them on the shoulder, sending a stream of lightning between the both of them, knocking them out. And Naruto runs off to the bridge. So with Team 7 there doing their patrols, making sure everything is how it should be, they start to get a heavy sense of dread washing over everyone there. And Kakashi turned around to see the red assassin standing there. And he began to walk towards Tazuna, and Kakashi and the others jumped in the way, using any jutsu to stop him, but Yuppie was unfazed. Kakashi tried using his metal wires to like wrap around him, but he broke through it with ease. He tried using water style, no fire, no earth, like lightning, nothing worked. And Yuppie just walked up and grabbed Tazuna and said, "Time to get this over with." And he turned his hand into a blade, and before swinging at Tazuna's head, Yuppie sensed a massive amount of bloodlust directed towards him. And he turned around and saw Naruto with lightning covering his body completely. And this form is Godspeed, increasing Naruto's speed multiple times over. But not only that, there were some slight streams of red lightning arcing off Naruto, showing that not only was this Godspeed, but the QB was Naruto was had some of the Cube's chakra running through him as well. So Yuppie dropped Tazuna and said, "You got stronger. Finally, fight me." And Naruto took one step, then disappeared. Yuppie began looking around trying to find Naruto, and he reappeared in front of him, kicking him into the air. Then Naruto clapped his hands together and created streaks of lightning and hit Yuppie, shocking him worse than anything Naruto has ever done before, and Yuppie can feel the difference in power. So he dropped to the ground and knew the only way to win was to go all out. But as he started growing more arms, Naruto began kicking him around and using his lightning release. He wouldn't give him any chance to use his abilities. In Hunter x Hunter, Yuppie was too durable to be killed by Killua, but Naruto had Kurama on his side, and his red lightning didn't just shock someone, it did physical damage. So Naruto looked at Yuppie squirming around from being like almost fried, and he said, "Messing with my team was the biggest mistake you'll ever make." And Naruto coated his arm in red lightning and shoved it through Yuppie's head, completely pulverizing his head. There wasn't ash, there wasn't dust, there wasn't blood. It was just completely gone. And Naruto, after doing this, he dropped to one knee because this was exhausting from using Godspeed for this long. But he did it. He took down Yuppie. So the bridge would continue to be built and completed not too long after. And since Gato hired who was said to be the best assassin in the world, he wouldn't send any of his men to the bridge. But Naruto, he would spend more time in the Land of Waves dealing with Gato and his men. Even if they weren't gonna come after them, he was gonna go after them, if that makes sense. Going around making sure that the Land of Waves was a peaceful village once again and not under his tyrannical rule. So eventually they were all taken care of, and with Naruto basically saving everyone from certain death, the bridge would still be named after him, the Great Naruto Bridge. And with that, Team 7 would return to the village. For the Land of Waves arc, I would love for you guys to tell me how that was. I'm not ending the what if right now, but honestly, I'm just really curious on how you guys think of it. I could bring in villains from the respective series of whatever anime what if I'm doing. I could do it more often, give Naruto a challenge. Just tell me what you guys think, because I think it was a pretty entertaining fight. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, let's get back into it. So Team 7 started walking back to the village, taking the same path as usual, and they get there in no time, really, in less than an hour. And when they finally do, Naruto and the rest of his team are just happy to be back in the village. But before they do anything else, they head to the Hokage's office, where they would obviously go to get paid from the mission. But before they do get paid, obviously Kakashi would tell Hiruzen about their encounter with the Red Assassin. And Hiruzen, he was drinking some water and he spit it out as soon as he heard the color red. Because this guy is so notorious, like in the bingo book, he has his own ranking. He isn't S, he isn't double S, he isn't triple S. There's just a ranking called UP. But that was the least most surprising part about what Kakashi told Hiruzen, was the fact that Naruto took him out. And that's incredible in its own, but after explaining the fight to Hiruzen, he would realize that Naruto, he isn't necessarily as strong as Yuppie, but he does have the capabilities of killing him. He's straight up killed him. But it's more of he outsped him, so like raw strength wise, Naruto doesn't even compare. So the payment they would receive for this mission is a bit of an issue, because the bounty on Yuppie's head is around 20 million yen. But obviously, like Hiruzen doesn't have that to give away. 20 million yen, that's what, like 200,000 US? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like that. So yeah, Hiruzen doesn't have that much money just lying around. So he gives them the reward for a S-rank mission, and with that said, Naruto and the others would return home to finally get some time to rest. It's been a while since the last part, so a quick recap. In the last part, Naruto, he took care of Yuppie, and now he's just relaxing after the whole Land of Waves arc, and his entire team actually was given some time to rest. So on Naruto's second day of his rest and relaxation, he gets not a knock at the door, but one of Kakashi's ninken actually come into Naruto's apartment, and he has a message for Naruto. So Naruto, he takes the message from the dog, and after it poofs away, he reads it, and it says that Kakashi's requesting them to come to the field. So Naruto, he doesn't have a problem with it. He just puts on his gear and heads out. And when he makes it to the field, he's actually the first one there. And not long after, Ino and Sasuke show up, and then Kakashi does as well. And Kakashi, he's coming along and he's carrying something behind his back, and this piques the interest of the entire team. And Kakashi comes up to them and says, "Oh, good, you're all here already. So let me just get this out of the way first." And Kakashi swings over a Jonin vest and says, "Naruto, Lord Third would like you to have this. He's recognized your strength and wants to see you in the front lines." And Naruto held the vest and his eyes were entranced by it. This brings him just ever so closer to his goal, because Naruto would want to become the Hokage, since that would be like the ultimate thing to show how much he can protect those around him. So Naruto, he puts on the Jonin vest, and it's like he can feel his power level rise like 100,000 times. And Kakashi, he's like, yeah, it'll wear off soon. And Kakashi begins to tell his team about the Chunin exams. And he's saying that they would need all of their approval so he can enter them in these exams. And Naruto is asking them, how will he be a part of it? How will his team even be able to participate? There are only 2 members. And Kakashi said, don't worry about that. Hiruzen Lord Third has had it all under control. He has some big plans for you, Naruto. And Naruto, he's like, oh, okay, alright. So he's just gonna go along with it. And with that, Kakashi tells them they have about a week until the exams, 2 weeks until the exams. So during this time, Ino and Sasuke would train their butts off, and Naruto would actually help them with this. Naruto would show them different stuff that he uses to, build his physical strength and stuff like that. But individually, Sasuke, he would start reading all the different scrolls in the Uchiha library and not only learning fire style but also lightning release jutsu. And she's learning from her father all the different jutsus from the Yamanaka clan, and these get really in depth, like to the level of, bro, what is the word? To the level of astral projection, yes, where she can basically phase her own soul out of her body and she can have like a out of body experience and survey around the area. That's how powerful the Yamanaka clan's secret techniques can get. So after this 2 weeks is over, Naruto and, well, not Naruto, but Naruto's team, Ino and Sasuke, they would have a substantial power up since the last time he's seen them. So they all go to the academy, and this time Naruto doesn't go in with them. He stays because Kakashi meets him out in front of the academy while the other two go in. And for them, it's basically the same thing, they get past the Genjutsu, and Lee does offer to fight Sasuke, and Sasuke accepts. And this time Sasuke still loses because even though he's physically stronger than himself in canon, Lee's techniques are just overbearing because Sasuke, he has the raw power, but Lee has that power with all of these techniques at his advantage. Also, if I gave any of these characters some abilities in future parts, I tried watching through them just to make sure I stayed consistent, but I'm almost 110% sure I missed something. So yeah, if I gave Sasuke something crazy, my bad, I just forgot about it. So with that massive L, Sasuke goes along with Ino and they enter the first stage. And the first stage is completely the same as canon. They have talks with like Kabuto and he's spinning his cards, trying to get the stats and abilities of different people in the rooms. And when he does the card spinning thing for Gaara, he's impressed by Gaara's stats because it says here he's never been injured on any of his missions and he's never failed a mission. So this does send some chills down Ino and Sasuke's spine, but they don't want to like seem like they're scared of anyone there, so they toughen up and go through. So Ibiki, he enters the room and has everyone do the test and things like that. But while all of this is happening, Naruto is with Kakashi because he's going to be a part of the second stage. The second stage is not going to be like it was in canon. It's going to be something completely different. But we'll get to that when Sasuke and Ino are through with the first stage, of course. So to get the answers, Ino uses her mind transfer to like see what someone has and then goes back to her body and writes everything down, while Sasuke does the same thing. He like copies the person's handwriting. And when it comes to the final question, they don't even think about quitting because they're doing this so they can like be as strong as Naruto, because Naruto is like the pillar for this team. They want to be like him. So as all the teams that passed the first stage, after all of them finished, they would be escorted to the center of the Forest of Death, to the building there. And in the same room that they had the preliminary exams, these kids would be taken, and this is where the second stage would be. And Naruto is standing there, and Hiruzen begins to explain the rules of this stage. He says there are 2 bells on the side of each wall, and like as a team, they will come down and try to grab one of the bells. And Naruto's goal is to, well, stop them. So it's kind of like the bell test, but instead of the bells being on Naruto, they're placed on the walls. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So with that, the teams would go, and I would say whoever passes the second stage in canon, they would pass as well, because Naruto, he's told not to go like 100%, because if he did, literally no one would be passing and it wouldn't be fair. So Naruto stayed in his base, only using his like lightning techniques occasionally whenever he was like, oh yeah, this team is like getting it too easy. So for like Gaara's team, Naruto would use a bit of his lightning abilities, but with Gaara's sand defense, Naruto could hardly get around it, so that was a secured win for Gaara's team. And for Team 7, No lie, Naruto was a bit biased because he went even less hard on them just to make sure that his team was passing. Of course, Sasuke was mad at him because like he wanted to like go against Naruto full force, but yeah, Naruto wasn't trying to have that, so he basically let his team pass. But after the second stage, there were still way too many kids left in the, why do I keep saying kids? There are way too many genin left in the exam, so Hiruzen had to come up with a quick way to lessen the numbers, and that's where he got the idea for the preliminary exams. So these preliminary exams would go pretty much like normal. With Sasuke, he would go up against that other leaf ninja who can absorb chakra. I am still mad at this guy for not being able to beat Sasuke in canon. You're trash. So yeah, Sasuke in this does beat him a lot easier because he doesn't have the curse mark. So Sasuke, he would have an easier time using his jutsu and stuff like that. For Ino and Sakura's fight though, Ino would win by a landslide with help from Naruto and her actually taking her like jutsu training seriously with her father. Ino severely outclasses Sakura in almost everything. And apart from that, everything basically goes the same. Unfortunately, Lee still gets his like hands and legs crushed, but Might Guy steps in before Lee could be like actually killed. And with that, with Hiruzen satisfied with the rankings and where everyone is and the amount of people left, he said to them that, they would get a month to train and then come back to do the third stage of the tuning exams, where they would be doing 1v1 matchups. During this month-long break, Naruto was given a mission from Hiruzen, and this mission had Naruto out of the village for the entire month. He went to almost the borders of the Land of Fire itself, to a town of bandits who were fighting, and this has been like going on for weeks at this point. This fight has caused the destruction of many of the buildings in that town. And that town is pretty important to the Leaf because it sits on top of some ores that are essential for, advancing in technology and things like that. So Naruto was sent in to stop all of this, and when he arrived on scene, he sees these people still going at it. These people with like swords and sword fighting. So Naruto sped towards them and slammed his hand into the ground, creating an electric floor type thing. So it attacked everyone in a certain area, and everyone just dropped to the ground, and Naruto said in a deep voice, "If I get sent back here to deal with you guys, I won't hesitate to kill you." And the people of the town were obviously scared, but they complied with Naruto, who even stayed to help rebuild parts of the town. But once that was all said and done, Naruto returned just in time for the Chunin exams. So he ran up the side of the walls just to sit on top, for the best view. And first up was Ino versus Neji. I know Ino has gotten like a lot stronger, but with Neji's rotation and 8 trigram 64 palms, Ino doesn't really stand a chance. Then it was Shikamaru versus Tamari, which Shikamaru withdrew from. Then Shino versus Kankuro. But before they could even fight, Kankuro gave up because he was quote-unquote too tired when they literally got a month to rest and train and all that good stuff. But whatever, so the next fight would be what most people have been waiting for, Gaara versus Sasuke. So the fight starts off with Sasuke trying to get in close, trying to outspeed Gaara's sand, but even with his Sharingan, he wasn't getting any ground. So Sasuke decided to use one of his new techniques. He ran up to the wall to, build up speed, and he realized Naruto was just chilling on the side of the wall. So Naruto waved to him and Sasuke just had to keep his head in the game. So he started doing the hand signs for Chidori, but this Chidori was bigger than what Sasuke could regularly make. And Sasuke looked back at Naruto, who was just looking out into space whistling, and Sasuke tissed and said, like I need your help. But I'm not complaining. And Sasuke, he ran off as fast as he could, and this speed, like even Naruto was impressed. So Sasuke rushed Gaara's sand ball thing and slammed the Chidori into it. And this Chidori broke through easily, and because it was more powerful, it literally tore through Gaara's shoulders, ripping his arm off his shoulders. And Sasuke got back before Gaara could even like counterattack. Then the screams of pure pain and agony rang through the village. Gaara was going insane, if he wasn't already, because we already know Gaara. He's kind of sick up there, if you know what I mean. And Gaara, he starts to go into his transformation into his half Shikaku state. And seeing this, the Konoha crush commenced. So Naruto, well not Naruto, Hiruzen, who was sitting and watching all the fights, he didn't realize that the person next to him was Orochimaru, who attacked him out of nowhere. And Naruto, he was seeing this, so he rushed over before they could even get on the roof. And Naruto, he pinned Orochimaru to the ground and started sending waves of electricity going through his body. And unlike the fifth wave, Orochimaru's body burst into a bunch of snakes who all slithered away. And Naruto, he's like, oh, I'm not letting you go. So before all the snakes could get away, Naruto, he set out a massive sort of like EMP, but it was through the ground. So anything around Naruto just got blasted with that. And all the snakes just stopped moving on the spot. But one got away out of like the 50 that was there. So with that, Orochimaru, he's still out there somewhere. And Naruto, he had bigger fish to fry anyways, because there were sand shinobi going attacking people in the stands, attacking villagers out in the village. So Naruto, he had his hands full to deal with, while Sasuke, he was chasing after Gaara because he wanted to finish this fight. And that was a bad idea, because when Sasuke actually caught up with him, Gaara, he was not fully transformed like in his massive Shikaku, but Gaara, he was like in a Shikaku form but smaller. So Sasuke, he tried using Chidori, he tried using Alliance Barrage, yet nothing was breaking through Gaara's sand. So Gaara pinned him to a wall when he was exhausted, and Sasuke just couldn't do anything. But eventually, once Naruto knew that the village was fine, that the Jonins could handle it, he went after Sasuke because Naruto knows that there's a Jinchuriki residing in Gaara, so Sasuke cannot deal with that any at all. So Naruto, he went after Sasuke, and when they finally caught up, Naruto used his, not his like super powerful lightning like with Kurama's chakra and all of that, but Naruto entered his Godspeed form. And with that, Gaara was obliterated because Naruto didn't want him to transform fully. So he was taking it like, he didn't know what triggers it, but Naruto mainly wanted to immobilize Gaara just in case he would need to do some type of jutsu or something to enter his full Shikaku state. So Naruto, he was running around punching Gaara, trying to keep him in one place. And then Naruto used a technique he developed is where he can turn his lightning into literal physical thing. Well, lightning is a physical thing, but like an object that stays there. And Naruto, he would wrap this lightning binding around Gaara and it would electrocute him while keeping him immobilized. And with that, Naruto would take Gaara back to his siblings, where they would eventually calm him down, and that would mark the end of the Konoha crush. Because of Naruto's efforts, Hiruzen survived. There was no major casualties, and none of the buildings in the Leaf were destroyed, so that's a huge plus. Now with that, after the Konoha crush happened, someone decided to visit the Leaf, and this would be Jiraiya. So he went to Hiruzen's office, and Hiruzen, seeing Jiraiya, he was obviously happy to see him. This man has been gone for years. So Hiruzen gives him the laydown on what happened with the Konoha crush and how Naruto has gotten really strong. And after getting him up to speed, Jiraiya, he got really serious and tells Hiruzen to call a council meeting. Hiruzen wasn't used to seeing Jiraiya this serious. Jiraiya is always, goofy and stuff like that. So he wasted no time and did so. in the council meeting, there were elders, clan heads, Danzo, and Hiruzen. So Jiraiya came into the room and everyone was as shocked as Hiruzen was a while ago, since, as I said, he's been gone for years, so no one expected him to just show up. So Danzo spoke up and said,
"So, to what owes this your visit, Jiraiya? We haven't seen you in a while."
Jiraiya didn't even respond to him. He wasn't there for any small talk. He went up to them and said, "This is something serious. As you know, my team and I have been out gathering as much data as we can on the Akatsuki, and we thought we found their hideouts. So we moved in to survey the area, and the cave entrance was completely gone. When we walked in, there were bodies all over the place. They were all wearing matching robes and rings." And Hiruzen's eyes widened and he said, "So you found them?" And Jiraiya said, "Yes, but they were all dead." And everyone in the room went silent. Danzo spoke up first and said,
"How? There's no one capable of taking on the Akatsuki all at once. And from what you've described, it seems like there wasn't a huge battle."
And Jiraiya said, "Exactly. There was no signs of a large-scale battle as expected from a group as strong as the Akatsuki. But we have reason to believe there might be." And Jiraiya called out Naruto's name, and he walked in from the door into the council meeting. And Jiraiya said, "Naruto, explain everything you told me." So we flash back to the time where Naruto defeated Yuppie, and Yuppie's last words as he was disintegrating were,
"You may have defeated me, but there will always be a bigger fish."
And hearing this, the members of the council thought about what Naruto said, and Shikaku said, "So, there is someone presumably stronger than Yuppie. We have no chance against someone or something that strong." And everyone knew this was right, so no one really said anything. But Naruto spoke up above anyone there and said, "Well, I'm not staying around here waiting on my death. I'll go out there and find this person myself." And as Naruto was leaving, Hiruzen quickly got up and said, "Are you dumb? You barely survived Yuppie's onslaught of attacks, and you expect to beat someone stronger than him?" And Naruto looked into Hiruzen's face and said, "Once I defeat this thing, I'll take your seat as Hokage. This village will do no good with a coward leading it." And Naruto walked out. This hit Hiruzen to his core, and he couldn't do anything but watch Naruto as Jiraiya went off after him. So for the time skip, Naruto and Jiraiya would spend time trying to find any traces of this person, and honestly, they had no leads. So 2 years into the search, Jiraiya decided to call up one of his old friends to see if they knew anything about this, and that old friend would be Orochimaru. And Orochimaru's hideouts are way easier to find than the Akatsuki's, because yeah, Orochimaru is moving all the time, but it's like every month or 2 months or so, while the Akatsuki is like every other day. So Jiraiya, he and Naruto went to the most recent base that they know Orochimaru is. So they entered the base, and this is the same one that Naruto was chasing Sasuke around in Shippuden. So yeah, they get into this, and it's a really long hallway. And Jiraiya and Naruto start running down these hallways, trying to find Orochimaru anywhere they can. But after a good minute of searching, it was simply no use. They couldn't find anything. So Naruto, they were going to leave, but then they heard a sound coming down from one of the hallways from a door. So they rushed over, and in there, they open the door and see the Sound Force standing with someone with a dark figure in the corner. And this figure said,
"Oh, so you decided to chase me after all. Well, let's see if you can deal with these four."
So this person sent the Sound Force after Naruto and Jiraiya. And Jiraiya, he was ready to get into Sage mode and get battle ready. But Naruto put his hands out in front of Jiraiya and said, "I've got this." So Naruto enters Godspeed and then flashes behind the Sound Force, and all of their heads come flying off. and their bodies dropped to the ground. Naruto thought this would be the end of it, but the corpse started getting up and fighting more and more. Naruto had to break their legs so they couldn't walk, and even then they tried grabbing his feet. But once completely immobilized, they stopped, and Naruto looked to the figure in the dark and said, "Orochimaru, I'm guessing this is your doing." Then Naruto felt a hand on his shoulder, and it was Jiraiya, who said to Naruto, "That isn't Orochimaru." The two of them looked back and saw this guy standing on Orochimaru's body. Then a dark aura spread from this guy. It was weird to describe, but yeah, this dark aura could be felt, and his bloodlust was crazy. Imagine when Sasuke wanted to kill himself because of Zabuza's bloodlust. That's how it's affecting Jiraiya, someone that strong. So Naruto realized he needed to finish this quick. So he called on Kurama's chakra, and the light emitting off Naruto showed them who was in the dark. This guy had long, jet black hair and an expressionless face. His eyes had no pupils, just one big circle. This is Illumi. A lot of people were telling me to replace the Akatsuki with the Phantom Troop, but when I did the poll, a majority of people didn't want to do it, so here's the middle ground, bringing a member of the Phantom Troop. Again, I don't watch the show, so I might go outside of what's possible of these characters, but who cares, we're just having fun. So Naruto gets a huge hit of bloodlust and he couldn't move from this. Illumi comes into the light with his hair just floating on its own, and Illumi grabs onto Naruto's face and says, "How could someone so weak defeat Yuppie?" But as he said this, Kurama invaded Illumi's mind with his own bloodlust, and this freed Naruto, who punched Illumi right in the gut, but he had no reaction. Naruto was, for the first time, scared. He had Kurama's chakra flowing through him as well as Godspeed activated, and this guy just ate one of his punches with zero reaction. Naruto, he acted quickly and he jumped back, but was grabbed from behind by Jiraiya, and Naruto is trying to break free as Jiraiya, he's asking Jiraiya what he's doing. But Jiraiya's face was completely emotionless, and there was a needle in the back of his head, and Naruto knew that Illumi must have had something to do with this. So he said, sorry Jiraiya, and kicked him off, sending Jiraiya flying into a wall. Naruto then coated his arm in red lightning, hoping to finish this as soon as possible. So he sped behind Illumi and punched him right in the back. And Naruto said, yes, I finally got him. Because, well, this is exactly how he defeated Yuppie. But Illumi was just standing there. He concentrated his nen at the point where Naruto's strike hit, so this completely nullified it basically, and Illumi spun around and kicked Naruto, sending him flying through 5 walls. So Naruto got up and he was going to go for Illumi, but he was already there and started punching Naruto into the ground over and over, and Kurama's chakra couldn't keep up with this damage being dealt, and Illumi's abilities just countered most of Naruto's skill set. So Naruto just needed to be faster. He kicked Illumi off him and started to heal, and speaking to Kurama, saying, "You might want to start taking this seriously or both of us will end up dead." And Kurama scoffs but slams his hands together and said, "Take whatever you need." And sparks started coming off of Naruto, and anything these touched, it disintegrated. Illumi could sense this buildup of power and said, "This isn't good." He looked over to Jiraiya and controlled him to step in front of him. Meanwhile, Naruto at this point, he is at the speed of light. He shoots to Illumi in the blink of an eye, but Jiraiya was standing in front of him and he would kill both of them. But Naruto reached out his arms and threw Jiraiya out of the way, punching Illumi in the chest, and they were flying together through multiple walls. Then Naruto redirected it up above ground, and then Naruto turned around and slammed him back into the ground. Naruto stood over Illumi and watched as his entire body was just going into dust, like he just got Thanos snapped. But one thing Naruto didn't realize, because of the rush of battle, Naruto didn't see that his own arm was destroyed, the arm that he punched Illumi with. But Naruto, he still had the adrenaline pumping, so he dragged Jiraiya back with him to the village, and when they reached the gates, Naruto collapsed. But you know, the village guards were there to help them in, and they were taken in, had their injuries treated, and after this, Naruto was given the highest praise possible. He was appointed the 5th Hokage, and at Naruto's ceremony that was held, you know, the same one in Boruto that Konohamaru had to pretend to be Naruto, yeah, that one. So Naruto was looking over the entire village population, and with Ino by his side, Naruto couldn't ask for a better life. But could he go against an ultimate clan? Someone that is not of this world? Some aliens? Well, we may never find out, because that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Thank you guys for being so patient with me. My exams have actually started. I've been doing some exams this week, so yeah, that's my bad. But I should be doing a double upload today, just, you know, just as a sorry for doing that. And actually next week, I have exams through to December 17th. But next week, I don't have them every day, so I'll still be able to upload actually even more often, because like I was studying before, but now I feel pretty good, pretty confident with me acing these exams, so wish me luck. And with that said, if you guys like the video, like, and if you like my content in general, consider subscribing, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.
And remember, like and subscribe. Or else.